Hello everybody and welcome. It is time for round 8 of the Downforce Grand Prix World Series from Great Britain. And where better to host this incredible event than the streets of Birmingham? Hey up everybody, yes, we are getting ready for an absolutely alright street race around the Birmingham Superprix. It is going to be an absolutely thrilling race, 51 laps, just as it was in the days of Formula 3000. This race circuit has not been run since 1990. So it's going to be fantastic to relive all of those fantastic and epic scenes around the circuit. If you didn't see the celebrity race a little bit earlier on today, well, it was a fantastic one. Jimmy Bly taking victory in the Lola, and it sets us up for an absolutely fantastic battle. You can go and watch that back on our YouTube channel. And of course, like and subscribe to us on Downforce Racing UK via Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Let's take a look at the driver standings after the Grand Prix de Pau. And as you can see in the driver's standings, it's ridiculously close. Kamui Kobayashi leads the way in front of Jean-Eric Verne, but only by a single point. Marc Genet in third position. Back into fourth comes Andre Lotterer after a good point score at Pau. Lucas de Grassi is still fifth. Sebastian Buemi in sixth position, despite not being in the grid right now. Paul de Resta and Brendan Hartley up to eighth place after his win on the streets of Pau. And then Nico Hulkenberg and Nick Heidfeld now in the top 10. Then it's Bruno Senna from Sebastian Bourdais, Anthony Davidson tied with him, Pedro Della Rosa 23 points, but still no elusive victory yet. Alexander Rossi and Scott Dixon scoring first time out, last time out, Stoffel Van Dorn and Timo Glock, and then Susie Wolf and Marcus Ericsson, who is now driving for Midland, having started the season with Simtech, and then James Courtney, Gabriele Tarquini, Takianui, Luciano Berti, and Jaime Alguersuari, who is once again at the front end of the grid for this particular race. Hopefully he'll have the good fortune to bring it home with a decent point score. Here's the team standings. BAR Playlife still leading the way, but Arrows closing them in big time last time out. The win for Manor, giving them a third place run at the moment from Minardi and AGS. Lola into sixth position past Onyx. Simtech scoring well puts them up to eighth place now in front of Super Aguri and Prost. And then we have BMS Italia, 40 and Midland. It's going to be an absolutely thrilling race, and here on the streets of Birmingham, what an absolutely fantastic spectacle it is going to be. I'm going to head down to the green room and chat with our team managers. And what an absolutely thrilling battle it is going to be with our team managers this time out. Let's talk to Topher Smith of Super Aguri fame. And Topher, looks like it could be a very exciting battle here on the streets of Birmingham with plenty of drivers going for the victory. And you guys looking pretty quick for Timo Glock, second on the grid, definitely where he wants to be.
Well, the celebrity race earlier definitely whetted our appetites for the race today. And Bro Vandenberg earlier, he had a really good run in Super Aguri before his retirement. So, yeah, the car's looking quick. Glock has put it second onto the grids. He's hoping for a good race. But as we always say, it depends on whether he can reach the finish or not. And we've definitely got the pace. Nick's a little bit disappointed with his performance down further on the grid. The only way that he can go is forward. We're hoping that he manages to work his way up the order. So the only thing I think we can do for now is just wait and see what happens.
So obviously it's good luck to you. Let's see how it all fares. Over to Ryan Ferris of the Onyx team. Sebastian Bourdais and Bruno Senna, good point scorers through the year. How do you think things are going to go today?
Well, the thing is, we've now gone 2 races in a row without scoring points. Now we had double retirement in Bruno, and then we had Bruno have his retirement, and then Bourdais throwing it away out of the points. So yeah, we're hoping for a good result today. Both drivers have been told that their positions are under pressure depending on the team's finance come the end of round 10. So hopefully they can prove me wrong and that they don't need replacing.
Well, that sounds particularly ominous. Hopefully they are going to keep their jobs, but let's see what happens on the streets of Birmingham. Sam Hall over at the Manor team. This is an opportunity for you guys. After taking the victory at Pau, you would love to make it back-to-back wins. Can it be done?
Yeah, I mean, Brendan's starting from 12th after his win last time out, within half a second of pole, so it's very, very close. We saw earlier that the tight street circuit isn't actually that tight, so yeah, there should be plenty of passing. We've got Lucas in 8th. I am looking forward to, fingers crossed, another podium.
Well, let's see what happens for the boys in red, white and black. Scott Woodwiss, team boss of the Simtech team, you are still absolutely loving life after the fantastic performance on the streets of Po, with very nearly a victory for Stoffel van Dorn in the early stages, and certainly Scott Dixon going right to the end of the race in a fight with Brendan Hartley. Can you go one better in Birmingham?
We'll have to see. I think I'm quite pleased with where we qualified. We're in the top 10, so things look promising. We did fairly well with Maggie Payton in the pro race where she came fourth, so that certainly proves the car has got good pace in anyone's hands, really. I'm confident to see what Scott can do around another street circuit. Stoffel seems in good shape as well. Our car's always been a better race car than it has been a qualifying car. The updates we made recently seem to have helped improve our qualifying pace a bit, so we've got better chances of being further up the field. And also the car's pretty good off the line. We've seen in the last couple of rounds of the pro race earlier on, and it's at Po as well in the last couple of races, that the car's got really good, it's really strong in the opening lap, and the guys were able to really pick up a good few places off the line, which is helpful. I'm confident we can get a good result today. Again, still wary of the fact that with all the reliability work we did, we've carried the cars over from the success we had in Po, so nothing's ever guaranteed. It might be a bit tough in terms of reliability. It seems we've got a car now, and at least an engine that both have done race distances. The fact they've been street circuits might be a little easier, but at the same time, there's some long straights here at Birmingham, which might stress the engines a bit. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but we'll wait and see when the checkered flag flies. Hopefully we'll get another double points and we'll be able to use that money again to keep pushing forwards until the next sort of balance of performance comes in a couple of rounds' time. So fingers crossed.
Sounds good to me. Hopefully it is a successful one for Simtech. And finally, let's have a word with the manager of the Prost team, and that is Tom Cairns. The bad luck of the season hasn't quite gone yet. There were points on the board over the first couple of races of the second half of the year, as it were. Estoril and Brno, the team scored points, but there were first and second on the streets of Po before both cars ended up retiring. Are those jinxes gone for Birmingham, do you think?
Well, with this being a home race for me in particular, I think it has to be. I mean, it'd be nice if we can get a podium, and we've yet to get a podium. I mean, our best finish at the moment has been a fourth place in Estoril. So we need to convert what we've managed to achieve in qualifying. I mean, Alguersuari has done well to put his car fourth, because had he not betted his time in the second session, he would have ended up sixth instead. So it's good to have Alguersuari up there, and very, very well done to Pedro as well for getting his car up there in P1. Now he just needs to keep hold of it, which I think he can. But we just got to make sure the cars make it to the end without any mechanical gremlins this time, because the drivers were not at fault for the problems that we had last time out in Po, which was a massive disappointment for the team's home race as well. Prost being a French team in a French area. Now we just got to put all that aside and make sure we come out with a much more positive display and a much more positive result for the team, because we so desperately need it, and we deserve to do so.
Well, fantastic stuff from all of the competitors. We're looking forward to a great race here on the streets of Birmingham. Good luck, everybody. So let's see this fantastic circuit through the eyes of our flying lap, and on this occasion the driver in question is Anthony Davidson of the Minardi team, and let's go around this fantastic Birmingham Superprix circuit. The first time Grand Prix cars will race against it in anger since 1990. It's a short run to the first corner, and you have to make sure it's very nicely done through that first left-hander, back on the power into the middle of the circuit, then knit it nicely through the right, left, right section that gets you onto the power and onto the throttle. Now you're down this long bypass that takes you all the way up to Halford's hairpin. This is a very, very tricky corner to get right, and you get the braking zone just right as well. We saw quite a few drivers in the celebrity race mixing it up for an overtake there, and these two straights that are parallel to each other give great opportunities for aerodynamic slipstream and overtaking, so we could see quite a few moves through the race. Into the right-hander. This is actually faster than it looks, and you've got to carry the speed through there. Get that slightly wrong and you're in the barriers on either the inside or outside. Back on the power and up towards this quick left-hand kink. got to keep a lot of power on. A little blip of the throttle will do. Then into heavy braking zone for the left-hander. And this is where, of course, Russell Spence ended up hanging around on the underside of a crane earlier in his career. Through to the right kink, then into the left. That's the final turn. You've got to get very close to the wall in order to get a fast lap in, as Anthony Davidson proves. Across the line, and it's a little under 70 seconds for the lap. So it's a very short track, and that will give us plenty of exciting race action. Here is the starting grid for round 8 of the championship, the Birmingham Superprix. Pedro Della Rosa on pole position from Timo Glock by less than half a tenth of a second. Nico Hülkenberg is third, and Jaime Alguersuari in fourth position. Kamui Kobayashi starts from P5. Then Jean-Eric Verne from P6 on the grid. Scott Dixon is there in P7 from Lucas de Grassi and Stoffel van Dorn. And then it is Sebastian Bourdais and Paul di Resta, Brendan Hartley and Alexander Rossi. Pascal Wehrlein way down in 14th, still not yet to prove himself as he has replaced Sebastian Buemi. Heidfeld and Jenné take up row 8. Marcus Ericsson is 17th for Midland, right ahead of Bruno Senna. Pedro Diniz still there for Midland, and Andre Lotterer way down in P20. Then it's Davidson and Tarquini, James Courtney and Taki Inui outqualifies Susie Wolf in the Lola, as Jean-Denis Delatraz takes his resident spot in 26th position on the starting grid. No major shocks or surprises as we head to the main event. So it is time to go racing then in the Birmingham Superprix. It's the first time since 1990, and boy are we in for a show. Della Rosa, Glock, Hülkenberg, Alguersuari and Kobayashi from the front of the grid. Who's going to get the best start? Let's find out. The Birmingham Superprix is go again, and what a start from Della Rosa. He rockets away. Hülkenberg's got a good start as well. He's outdragged Glock. Alguersuari's made a good one initially. Oh, and that's a problem for Marc Genet. He's gone wide, as has one of the Manners, who cuts back in front of one of the Simtex. But fortunately, it looks like there's not too much damage. But Marc Genet has got a broken front wing. So the Minardi in trouble already. And it looks as though the winner at Taupo is not going to be the winner here again today. And he's already going to be losing so much speed in a straight line as the Manners are going to swamp him on the way down to the hairpin. And early doors, it's Della Rosa from Glock and Hülkenberg. 3 different teams in the top 3 places, and Heidfeld's getting a little bit of a nudge down to the hairpin as they come through on the first lap. So Della Rosa leads the way. Glock in second place, then Hülkenberg, Dixon and Alguersuari. 4 different teams in the top 4 places. That's how competitive it is in the Downforce Grand Prix World Series. And you never know which of them's going to go all the way. Oh, that's one of the Midlands popping through. I think that might be Marcus Ericsson on the move past Nick Heidfeld, who still hasn't quite got the hang of this Super Aguri yet. He is 10th in the championship. Oh, and Heidfeld's gone straight into the back of Marc Genet. Goodness me, that was a big moment for Nick Heidfeld. He manages to get out of harm's way, but he went 2 wheels in the air there for certain, as Scott Dixon gets the fastest lap of the race in. Yet again, that Simtech is fast off the line. And in the first couple of corners, they are able to get a massive start boost as Marc Genet ploughs into the pits to get that front wing changed. So Della Rosa leading Glock. And oh, Susie Wolf getting a little bit too close there to Nick Heidfeld. Taki Inui gets a little bit of a nerf in there as well. So that got a little bit racy. And Marc Genet is now down at the back of the field. It looks like Jean-Denis Delatraz has actually had a pretty epic start for him, his point of view. He's certainly not at the back. But Della Rosa leads. Glock, Hülkenberg, Dixon, Kobayashi. Then it's Alguersuari. Here comes Alguersuari up the inside of Kobayashi to go for 5th. Can't make it stick. Behind the Spaniard, it's de Resta in the Lola, and he's going for it. Verne is 8th. Van Dorn is 9th place. Then it's Bourdais, de Grassi, Hartley, Wehrlein, Rossi and Bruno Senna. And then it's Pedro Diniz in front of Andre Lotterer and Marcus Ericsson. Heidfeld going wide. Oh, he nearly ended up in the barriers there. Delatraz is 19th, would you believe? A good start from the 40. Davidson in 20th, then it's Courtney, Tarquini, Heidfeld, Wolf, Inui, and at the back of the field after his shenanigans on lap 1, it's Marc Genet. So Pedro Della Rosa leads the Birmingham Superprix, the first since 1990. 30 years ago was the last time they went racing on the streets of Birmingham, and it's great to be back. So the competition very neatly joined at the moment as they continue to waltz for position. And it's going to be a pretty strong run at the start of racing. There's Anthony Davidson trying to keep himself out of trouble. And don't forget, of course, that these cars are still the same spec as they were at Po. They've done a race distance already on the streets of Po. Wasn't the longest race in history, but it was certainly on a very torturous circuit. And up the inside, there goes James Courtney, making the move on Anthony Davidson. We saw a lot of the celebrity drivers going off the circuit, flying around the course. Absolutely brilliant stuff. And here's Stoffel van Dorn trying to take on the BAR of Pascal Wehrlein. Wehrlein has made a good start. Was 14th on the grid. Oh, that's Delatraz. His brilliant start has come to nothing. An electrical problem for Jean-Denis Delatraz. He had started beautifully. He'd got up to 19th place as well. What an absolutely devastating end for Delatraz on the race of his season. This was where he was going to make it good, but unfortunately an electrical problem and he's out of the race already. That's devastating bad luck for Delatraz. He had an absolutely brilliant race going there. Could even have got a point the way things were currently going in this championship. And Scott Dixon is up to third. The Simtek has made the move for P3. So Dixon has moved forward, and Bourdais, by the way, has got a manner trying to go up the inside line and has got through. So no problems at all, therefore. I think that's Brendan Hartley. De La Rosa struggling in the lead of the race. He missed the gear. It's easy to get wrong here at Birmingham. A tough old circuit, but it's a fast street circuit, and there's a little bit more space to play with than you first realise, which means you've got to work very hard around this circuit to make a decent impression. So De La Rosa is going for the lead and continuing to battle away from the field. There's Scott Dixon, the Kiwi, second last time out, potentially on for another podium, and Pedro Diniz we're watching now in the Midland, who is a little way down the field. So De La Rosa runs well from the front. Timo Glock in second. Then it's Dixon, Hulkenberg, Alguersuari. 4 different teams in the top 4 places. Alguersuari in the Prost trying to keep up with his teammate in the lead of the race. The balance of performance payments have definitely helped some of the smaller teams to make progress. Here's Timo Glock in the Super Aguri. Taki Inui looks like he's being pursued already for his position as Anthony Davidson is into the pits. What's happened at Minardi? Davidson has had a problem as well by the look of it. Yes, he's got an electrical problem now. So incredibly, both of the Minardis having problems in the early stages. It's not good news for Alex Goldschmidt. Both his drivers now find themselves in pit road in the first 5 laps of racing. It has not gone well for either of them. There's your race leader, Pedro De La Rosa. So let's see how things are currently going. De La Rosa leads. Glock, Dixon, Hulkenberg. We're riding on board with Scott Dixon in third position in the Simtek. And here comes Alguersuari under pressure from the arrows of Kobayashi. Kobayashi trying to get through and has not been able to make the move. Hulkenberg's just up the road from them in 4th position. So Dixon running well in 3rd. And then it is Tarquini we're watching now, the BMS Italia driver. Touring car superstar. So he is doing his best. I have a feeling that Tarquini may have raced on this circuit in the days of Formula 3000. I'm sure our nerds among us will check that and give us an insight as to whether he did or not. But I'm fairly sure Tarquini did manage to race at the Birmingham Superprix in the first run around. It ran from 1986 through to 1990, of course. 5 consecutive seasons on Bank Holiday Monday in August. And there is Stoffel van Dorn in the 2nd Simtek. He was the leader of the team until Scott Dixon showed up. And now the multiple IndyCar champion, who had a test run or 2 in Formula 1, is now showing his candour here in the Downforce Grand Prix World Series. And we have decided after the success of this first run that Group C is going to be our 2nd season of competitive esports management, but there is going to be a second go at the Downforce Grand Prix World Series, and we are going to open it up so that it's a double grid. There will be a Group A and a Group B. So there will be 26 teams permitted into the Downforce Grand Prix World Series next year. Marcus Ericsson having a good go on the inside of Bruno Senna. Seemingly enjoying life now that he has moved to the Midland team, and he and Pedro Diniz will now see out the season unless there is a penalty handed out to drivers. So here's Ericsson making his bid on Bruno Senna. Wow, this is fascinating stuff. By the way, those who are trying to wonder what happened to the penalties that were handed out post-race last time out, well, again, we've had some issues trying to get... Oh, hang on, there's a puff of smoke from the lead. It's De La Rosa! De La Rosa from the lead again! Oh, that is heartbreaking on lap 7. De La Rosa leading, and yet another victory is thrown away. Oh, that is so soul-destroying for the Prost team. De La Rosa had a perfect run for the victory, and now it's all gone up in smoke, and it's Glock who takes over the lead from Scott Dixon and Nico Hulkenberg. That is absolutely appalling. Well, Down the straight comes Scott Dixon in second position. And the Simtek driver with a fascinating chance of going for the win here now. Well, this is an absolutely terrific run. While out in front, Timo Glock continues to battle for position. And as Sam Hall points out, from the lead again, Pedro de la Rosa. He had a puncture last time out at Po. And now he's had an engine failure. Oh, Pascal Wehrlein going off in the chicane. Pascal Wehrlein has dropped it. Well, the draconian leadership of Tom Butterworth meant that Buemi made several mistakes before he was replaced. And now Pascal Wehrlein, his replacement, is making similar, if not more, ridiculous mistakes there. Dropping it in the chicane, and that's not good news for Wehrlein. A team that's already got draconian leadership. He does not want to incur the wrath of Tom Butterworth. Oh, there we go. Absolutely ridiculous situation in this race now as again it opens up. James Courtney trying to make the move on the inside of Heidfeld. Not going to happen. Well, there you go again. Well, Tom Butterworth has stated in the chat, sacked. He's more draconian than the Red Bull program, but the thing is, he's only got one more driver change for the season that he's allowed to make. So what does he do here? Does he call up Kazuki Nakajima, his other reserve, or does he go back to Sebastian Buemi? That'll be interesting. We'll have to see what happens when the field heads to the next round, which of course is taking place on the streets of Helsinki. It's a return to the Helsinki Thunder street circuit, where the DTM roams. Well, used to roam, I should say. It certainly doesn't anymore, but it was a staple event in the 1990s. Pedro Diniz making his move up on the inside there. So Pedro Diniz getting a nice overtaking move as he gets back up to speed in the Midland. And he's got through at the expense of Lucas Di Grassi. So we're on board with Dixon. And there is Di Grassi making his move back on Pedro Diniz. He doesn't want to let that place go, but he can't get back by. Oh, that is absolutely brilliant. And Topher Smith has seen what might be a tweet or a Facebook or something like that from Nico Rosberg. Buemi to return to BAR. Well, that would be a fascinating change of position again if he returns to the team after a 2-race rest. But there is a rather disgruntled Minardi of Anthony Davidson. And that's an AGS behind him. What's happened to Andre Lotterer? Lotterer seems to have had an incident somewhere. I'm not sure what the cause of it was, but Lotterer has now rejoined down the order. Taki, careful. He nearly binned it out of the final turn. He was lucky to get away with that one. So Taki Inui continuing on his way in the sole surviving 40. So it's Glock, Dixon, Hulkenberg, Kobayashi, De Resta, Alguersuari, Van Dorn and Verne. And then it's Brendan Hartley and Sebastian Bourdais. So there is your leader, the Super Aguri of Timo Glock. Stoffel Van Dorn continues on his way in the Simtek. He's got a very wide berth into that right-hander. But he's running well with the Ilmor engine going very strong. Trying to hold off the likes of Verne, Hartley and Bourdais who are right on his tail. Then it is Diniz in 11th. De Grassi, Alex Rossi, Marcus Ericsson. And then it is Bruno Senna in front of Nick Heidfeld, James Courtney and Gabriele Tarquini, the two BMS Italias that we're watching. And then it's Susie Wolf and Taki Inui in 20th. Then Pascal Wehrlein, Marc Genet, Anthony Davidson and Andre Lotterer, all four of whom have had incidents. And then retirements, incredibly, for Pedro de la Rosa while leading. And then Jean-Denis Delatraz, who had made a fantastic start up to that point. And Jean-Eric Verne struggling, goodness me. Even the former championship leader is struggling to hang on to things in his position. He is down in 12th position. The balance of performance has definitely not helped BAR since it happened last time out. Oh, and that's Bourdais. Bourdais has got through and made the move on, I think, Brendan Hartley. So Bourdais is now up into 9th position. Yes, indeed. And Nico Hulkenberg continues to run in 3rd position. Is this going to be Nico Hulkenberg's moment? He's yet to win a Grand Prix. Before the Downforce Grand Prix World Series, he hadn't even been on the podium. Oh, Nick Heidfeld again shuts the door on Bruno Senna. Once teammates in their days at Lotus, of course. And Timo Glock continues to lead the race, but he's being caught rapidly by Scott Dixon. And Dixon is not very far behind him at all now. 0.7 of a second is the gap. Is Scott Dixon about to take the lead away from the Super Aguri? We are 12 laps into this race. We're on lap 12. And it's a short race, this, compared to some of the others that we've got in the calendar. But obviously these guys are going to have to work very hard indeed to get these cars home. It's a lot of fast straights combined with short stops. It's agony in terms of car setup. Now let's have a look in terms of the strategy, because I'm fairly sure that they're only going to do one-stop strategies. But a lot of them appear to be leaving those stops late. They just want to take the tyres as far into the race as they can. As up the inside goes Courtney, but Tarquini doesn't follow through. See, some of them are making late one-stops. All of them are making a one-stop strategy. And Degrassi's out! Degrassi in the manor pulls off the circuit. He is now out of the race. That is devastating for Lucas Degrassi as the engine is on fire. And it's game over for the manor. That is such a shame. You can see the flames licking out of the back of the car. And I'm afraid that is now down and out. Well, devastating bad luck for Lucas Degrassi. But what a race that is going to have just one stop for pretty much everybody. And they're going to have to decide when to do that. Scott Dixon remaining about a second behind Timo Glock. Doesn't need to push him too hard. Dixon being very wise here. Just pursuing the Super Aguri and not working the car too hard. And there's Bruno Senna. Nearly dropping it in the chicane. Careful, Bruno. Goodness me. He's a man whose job is already under threat, as Ryan Ferris alluded to before we got underway. So he can't afford to make too many mistakes. Into the hairpin. Oh, he's about to lose a place, is he? Yes, there goes the other BMS Italia. There goes Tarquini. So Tarquini gets through now. And down the back straight they come. But this is Timo Glock completing lap 13. Oh, Susie Wolf's going to go for the move. On the inside of Bruno Senna. Not this time, Susie. Bruno Senna defends well. And so Susie's going to have to try again a little bit further on into the race. Scott Dixon remains within a second of Timo Glock. This is how it finished at the end of Po, with Scott Dixon in the hunt for victory but not quite taking it. And after the start to the year that Scott Woodwis and Simtech have had, a victory would be an absolute fairy tale if they can pull it off, and what a place to do it, on the streets of Birmingham. So Timo Glock, Scott Dixon, Nico Hulkenberg within 4 seconds of the leaders though still. His teammate Kobayashi is there in 4th place. What's Anthony Davidson up to? Well, he's had a couple of incidents already. A problem with the car, meaning he had to come into the pits and drop to the back of the field, but if it's not fixed, then obviously he's going to have some more issues to deal with through the race. But it's Glock, Dixon, Hulkenberg and Kobayashi, the 2 Arrows cars, then Alguersuari in 5th, then it's De Resta in the Lola, Van Dorn in the 2nd Simtech, and then it's Bourdais, Verne and Hartley. Those are the point scorers right now. Verne, former championship leader, only looking at 2 points at the moment, and here comes Pedro Diniz. Oh, trying to make the move on Brendan Hartley. And Brendan Hartley is having a go at Jean-Eric Verne. So Brendan Hartley's got into the swing of winning. He wants to go for it and take on the former championship leader. Just a point between the two, by the way. Kamui Kobayashi in the lead of the championship and Jean-Eric Verne just a point behind. And Brendan Hartley now trying to come around the outside of Verne and nearly loses the place to Diniz in the process. So he's got to be ever so careful how much he puts pressure on himself there. It's going to be a very tough race. But still, the competitors urge themselves on. They still push on for victory and glory. Around the streets of Birmingham they go. A fabulous race. And there is, I hear tell of a Birmingham Superprix podcast that is coming. So that's certainly one that people will want to keep an eye out for. And it will be the official podcast of the Birmingham Superprix. Really looking forward to seeing how that all plays out. More on that in the coming weeks. But there is going to be an absolutely fantastic run. De Resta, Van Dorn, Bourdais, Verne, Hartley, Diniz in 11th from Rossi, Ericsson, Heidfeld and Courtney. And then Tarquini, Wolf, Senna, Wehrlein and Inouye. And then Marc Genet, Andre Lotterer and Anthony Davidson at the back of the field. Degrassi out, De La Rosa out from the lead. And Delatraz, having charged his way through, he's down at the back of the field. So let's see, with the race leaders, what the fuel loads are doing. Now, Scott Dixon looks like he's going to pit in early and get his one stop out of the way. Timo Glock is going to go about half distance. And then we've got Hulkenberg. He's going about halfway, as is Kobayashi and Alguersuari. De Resta's fueled light, as has Van Dorn and Bourdais. Verne has gone a very long way into the race, but he's not going to be able to make the flag with that fuel load, so he'll still have to pit late on. Then Brendan Hartley, and Diniz is going to come in very soon as well. In fact, he's making a move. So Diniz should be making his way through to the inside line, although he's had to back out of it in the end. And then Rossi, he's going long. Ericsson about right. And then Heidfeld is going on a short run. Courtney, Tarquini and Wolf all about the same. Intermediate run. Bruno Senna going long. Wehrlein is on a short load, but to the half distance mark. Marc Genet doing likewise. And then Taki Inui and Andre Lotterer finishing off their strategies. Davidson is going very long into the race as well. So there are the fuel loads. So expect the likes of Scott Dixon into the pits, as long with Paul di Resta. Oh, Pascal Wehrlein! He lost it big time there. He just locked up and ended up striking the barrier. He's very lucky that the wing doesn't appear to be too badly damaged from that. I think the wheel hit the barrier more than the front wing did, but that could cause a bit of an issue for him later. So Pascal Wehrlein needs to be very careful. And he's already in a team that has very draconian punishments. They had great fun in the celebrity race earlier on. They had Ricky Bobby and Cal Norton Jr. And that's a slowing BAR. I think there's a problem. Yes, Jean-Eric Verne's got an electrical problem developing. If he can make it back to the pits, Jean-Eric Verne can continue. But that's robbed him of his chance of points right now. As Scott Dixon pits in. Scott Dixon pits in from second. So let's see how he goes. This is the man battling for the victory. And that is going to be to the end of the race. Oh no, it's going to be a late splash and dash, I think. Now, that is tactical. There's going to be quite a few teams doing that towards the end of the race. So Scott Dixon clearly feels it's a tough old fuel tank here at Birmingham. But that seems to be what the case is. He seems to have done a light fuel load to gain track position and then continued. He's playing the long game. So Hulkenberg is 5 seconds adrift from Timo Glock. Brendan Hartley making his move on the Midland. Tarquini having a bit of a quiet race there in 15th. But we've had di Resta about to come into the pits again. So there is going to be another strong run for BMS Italia one of these days. The car is not quite up to speed yet. But James Courtney and Gabriele Tarquini are doing their best to try and move it further forward. Glock, Hulkenberg, Kobayashi, Alguersuari, di Resta. There's Van Dorn in 6th position for Simtech. His teammate has already made a pit stop. And Paul di Resta comes into the pits now in the Lola. So Paul di Resta is another one we need to keep an eye on. Because, of course, di Resta is one of those competitors who will always be in the hunt for victory. Now, he's going to stop again. That's not going to take him to the end of the race either. So it seems to be that the strategy that Dixon is on is the right one to go on for drivers who are trying to gain good track position. And di Resta rejoins in 14th behind James Courtney. So the aggressive strategy appears to be short at the start to gain track position, then as far as the fuel tank will let you go, and then a late splash and dash at the end. The two-stop strategy might just be the right one. I thought a one-stop strategy was the obvious way to go, but apparently the two-stopper might just get the job done. So Glock, Hulkenberg, Kobayashi, Alguersuari and Van Dorn. Then it's Bourdais, Hartley, Diniz, Dixon and Ericsson. Now the reason that it makes me think that the two-stop strategy might work is that Dixon is only 25 seconds behind the leader at this point. So Timo Glock, who is not dropping in pace, there's not a lot of time to lose by making 2 pit stops compared to when we normally have 2 stops. Normally you lose about 40 seconds, but as you can see, Dixon's only lost about 25. So the two-stop strategy might be the way to go. And this is what the Management League is all about, of course. Trying to make the right tactics, trying to make a good car that will go to the end of the race, as Pedro Diniz is in the pits in 10th position. So he's another of the light fuel loads, as is Nick Heidfeld. So Diniz and Heidfeld coming together. And we will see how they continue on. Timo Glock, though, is out in front, making light work of things. Marc Genet into the pits from 19th place, ruining his damage to the car on the first lap. The Minardi driver who won in New Zealand is not going to have such an easy time of it now. So down the straight. And up towards the final chicane comes Timo Glock. This time, the Super Aguri looks okay as Taki Inui goes to battle with Jean-Eric Verne, who has managed to get it back out onto the circuit again then. So Verne with some problems early on, but now he's really ready to hassle Taki Inui. And this is going to be interesting if he can make the move on the 40. I love this camera view riding from the rear wing. As Verne gets close to Inui and he slings it up the inside. Inui is not going to let him have it. They are actually racing for position. So he's entitled to do so. He's entitled to hold his line. And Verne has not got a way through on Taki Inui yet. He's not going to be able to find his feet. So nicely done there from Taki Inui to hold the line. Nothing wrong with doing that. He's not quite on the same level as Jean-Eric Verne in terms of ability, you might say, but that 40 has had an amazing upgrade to it thanks to the balance of performance. And so Taki Inui has good straight line speed in the car at least to be able to avert the move from Verne. Verne is going to commit, but no, Inui holds him at bay. Taki Inui wants a point more, 2 more for the 40 team. And Kamui Kobayashi, Championship League. Oh, Bourdais! That's a Simtek in trouble. It's Van Dorn. It's Van Dorn. Van Dorn in trouble. So yet again, the bad luck comes the way of Stoffel Van Dorn. He always seems to get the brunt of it. But Van Dorn is out of the race, I'm afraid. So that's now just one Simtek. Dear oh dear. So it's just Scott Dixon now that's in the hunt for victory for the Simtek team. Reliability is still a big difficulty for this Ilmor engine. It's powerful and it's very quick. But it just doesn't seem to have the gumption. And Bourdais is now coming into the pit as Dixon does go for the move on the inside of the Manor. Oh, Hartley is not going to make it easy for him though. And Hartley does not let him get through. But still, a very strong chance for this race to go anybody's way. Brendan Hartley now up to 5th and holding up Dixon. And Jean-Eric Verne needs to get past Taki Inui pretty quick because now he's lost ground to Pedro Diniz. Pedro Diniz is trying to come through. Verne tries again on Taki Inui. He needs to commit. He needs to roll off the power. And that's it. He's through. Verne does get there in the end. Past Taki Inui. Here's Hulkenberg. 5 seconds behind Glock. And now Bruno Senna is about to lose ground to Verline. Oh, that's Dixon! No, no, no! Oh, no win for Simtek this time. It was going so well. But the car was obviously pushed so hard for a decent result at Po. And I'm afraid on this occasion, Simtek will not get the fairy tale victory they deserve at Birmingham. Well, it was a great drive from Dixon at Po. It was a good drive from him here. But I'm afraid on lap 23, Simtek's race ends. That's devastating. Well, it's up to Timo Glock, Nico Hulkenberg and Kamui Kobayashi at the front now. As the battle continues, Hulkenberg in the arrows, still running well in second place. Pascal Wehrlein trying to get himself back into the points. And we're coming up to the half-distance mark in the race. We're on that 23 of 51. It's not going to be the longest race in history, but it's definitely going to be a competitive one. I think we'll just about get to an hour. One of the shorter races in the field, but after the treacherous conditions at Po, not weather, just a very tough circuit. It's punishing on the cars. And then here in Birmingham, where there's a lot of straight line speeds and tight, narrow, twisty bumps around the circuit. De Resta's going to make the move on the inside for the Midland, and he's got through. So a nice overtaking move there from De Resta on Marcus Ericsson. So Ericsson continuing in 7th place. Diniz is right in the mix of a proper battle here. That's the AGS. Oh, that's Marc Genet. The engine's gone. Marc Genet, engine failure for Marc, and that is game over for the former race winner. So now Genet out of the race in the Minardi. They are not having a good time of it at the moment. So Marc Genet, I'm afraid, is out of the race here at Birmingham. And there's a proper little battle going on up the road. There's Kamui Kobayashi. And who's that right behind him? That is now Jaime Alguersuari. Diniz gets the move on the 40. Has Taki Inui got a problem? Yes, Taki Inui's got a water leak developing. So Taki Inui is about to join his teammate on the sidelines as Susie Wolf comes into the pits. It's a matter of when that car comes to a stop rather than if for Taki Inui. Will he bail into the pits? Well, he's trying to see if he can fix it. He's trying to see if he can clear it by just moving on, but Taki Inui has lost power, and that is definitely a big problem as Bourdais now tries to get the move on the inside for 13th to move up into 12th position. Oh, they might have banged wheels there. That was Bourdais getting through on his own teammate Bruno Senna. So the team do not need to be driving into the side of each other. And Alex Goldschmidt does the Toto Wolff. What the hell? He's not happy with the way that the mechanical nature of the Minardi has handled itself this time out. He's been robbed. So now Brendan Hartley in 5th position, continuing his run behind Jaime Alguersuari. And there he goes. There he goes for Taki Inui. There is the plume of white smoke we expected to see. And I'm afraid it's game over for 40 now. Both of their cars out of the race, as Courtney and Wehrlein both come into the pits as they battle for the final point. But there are no points for 40 this time. Neither car able to make it to the finish. And Susie Wolff struggling under gears. Struggled to find a gear there as she came through the tight left-hander towards the end of the lap. So some very tough moments in this race as Taki Inui joins the long increasing list of retirements. It's Glock that leads. Hulkenberg in 2nd. Kobayashi 3rd from Alguersuari and Hartley. Oh, and that's Wehrlein rejoining right in front of Susie Wolff. Pedro Diniz trying to fend off Nick Heidfeld. Heidfeld going for it. And Heidfeld is through. So Nick Heidfeld into 14th place now, as Kobayashi and Alguersuari make their scheduled pit stops. So, a big moment for these two cars. Now, they've come into the pits absolutely together, and they should leave absolutely together. They do indeed. So these two are going to be absolutely glued to each other, and probably till the end of the race as well. As Hartley goes through to 3rd, De Resta goes through to 4th, and Ericsson rejoins in 5th. But he's got a stop to make, as have Hartley, De Resta and Ericsson. No, in fact, De Resta does not have to pit again, does he? Because he was one of the ones to start very early on. He stopped quite early on into the race. So he could actually go quite a long way into this race now, De Resta. But I do think he has another pit stop to come. If we do the math, yes, he's got another quick pit stop with about 10 laps to go scheduled. So Brendan Hartley running in 3rd position, 24 seconds down from Glock and Hulkenberg, and the leader is in the pits. The leader is in the pits. So Timo Glock comes in from the lead of the race. Let's see how this pit stop goes. 9 seconds is about what you need to get to the end of the race. So good work from the team so far. 4 wheels off, 4 wheels back on. This needs to be a really quick stop, and it's going to be 9.3. Not a bad stop at all from Timo Glock. He should rejoin in front of Paul De Resta. Hartley comes into the pits. De Resta's there, and Glock rejoins in 2nd. There's De Resta, so he has made it out in front of him. That was the important one to get right. Strategically, he needed to beat De Resta out of the pits for track position, as Gabriele Tarquini pits in from 9th. But it's Hulkenberg now leading. Glock is 2nd. De Resta, Ericsson, Kobayashi, and Alex Rossi nearly bins it there at the chicane. He just manages to roll off the brakes and catch it back again. So that could have gone very badly wrong, but he saves it. So Hulkenberg, Glock, De Resta, Ericsson, Kobayashi, Alguersuari, Rossi, Bourdais, Senna and Verne. That's the top 10 at the moment. And then it's Brendan Hartley, Nick Heidfeld and Pedro Diniz. Then James Courtney and Gabriele Tarquini. From Anthony Davidson, Pascal Wehrlein, Susie Wolff and Andre Lotterer. Here comes Kobayashi, trying to make his way past Ericsson. And Hulkenberg makes his move for the lead, and Alguersuari nips up the inside there of the arrows. That was beautiful tactics. He just waited for the position to come to him. Hulkenberg is getting out of the pits again. Now the big question is, where will he rejoin? There goes the leader, there goes Glock, and there goes De Resta. Where does Hulkenberg rejoin? In 3rd, in front of Ericsson and Alguersuari. And in fact, Alguersuari's made the move to get past Ericsson, so he's up into P4 now. So Timo Glock is still looking good for the victory. De Resta is behind him on a lighter fuel load, but De Resta needs to catch him, pass him, and then pull away if he wants to have any chance of winning this race. I don't think they've got it right in the end. Well, this is an absolutely fascinating race. Let's head down into the pit lane and have a chat with our managers in the green room about the way things have gone. It's a very tricky situation. So let's have a word with our team managers down in pit lane. First of all, I think we need to speak to 2 men who have been rather hard done by in this race. First of all, Tom Cairns. Yet again, Pedro de la Rosa leading a Grand Prix and more mechanical gremlins. But Alguersuari does have a chance of a podium at least.
Yep, well, Pedro's run of bad luck has struck again, hasn't it? All we can hope for now, really, is to see if Alguersuari can get something from this race. Ideally, a podium, which we haven't had yet this season, which would be a huge plus. but I think Pedro's retirement has caused a huge dent in our race today, really, because I felt we had the victory in our pocket, and I said to Sam as well whilst you were commentating that I was 80% confident that Pedro would get to the end of the race. Well, a couple of laps later, his engine gave way. So now it's gone from 80% to 10% in regards to Alguersuari needing to get to the finish, or going to get to the finish. So just gotta hope now. I mean, I didn't quite see Alguersuari's pit stop. Was he on a one stop or a two stop?
I think he is on a one stop, so he should be able to go all the way.
Right, okay, so, well, the fact he's got past Kobayashi on track and Ericsson, and the fact that DeResta's, I think he's still yet to pit as DeResta, because he seems to be going on a two-stop by the looks of things, because he wasn't anywhere near the front end of the field before he came into the frame once Alguersuari and Kobayashi had pitted. Well, we've got to hope now is just make sure that Alguersuari stays ahead of Kobayashi, because Kobayashi's only just over a second behind him now, because Kobayashi's got past Ericsson. Hopefully, DeResta will be pitting again soon, because I think by the looks of things, Hulkenberg is right behind DeResta. So.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Thanks for that. Hopefully, Alguersuari is going to make it go to the end. Let's have a quick word with the Simtech boss, Scott Woodward. Scott, we know for a fact that the car is ridiculously quick. Scott Dixon had the strategy right. It looked as though he was going to be on the pace for the victory, but yet again, both Stoffel and Scott really struggling to get it through to its conclusion. The car needs to be reliable, but it's definitely quick.
I'm not sure what to think at the moment, really. I mean, it's tough when both cars retire after all the work we did, but to have them retire within a lap of each other is a real punch in the gut, particularly when Scott could have been in contention for a win and Stoffel could have had a top five with the pace that they had. Yeah, to sound gutted is, quite frankly, a massive understatement. But all we can do is go to Helsinki and see what happens next. But yeah, I'm not sure what to think really.
Okay, thanks, Scott. I think Sam Hall's trying to give us a little bit of a giggle with the occasional sound effect. But thanks to the boys there for letting us know how things are. And we'll continue on. Devastating to hear the disappointment and dejection of both Tom Cairns and Scott Woodward, team bosses of Prost and Simtech, respectfully, as the race continues on here at the Birmingham Superprix. And that's Heidfeld making his bid on the inside of Bruno Senna. Hasn't been able to squeeze by. So far so good for Timo Glock, but he's 5 seconds ahead of Paul di Resta. Here is the race leader. Super Aguri have yet to win a race in 2020. But is there going to be another opportunity for a new team to take a victory? We have, so far from the 7 races, had 5 different race teams take victories. We've had Arrows take a win. We've had BAR take a win. Minardi. We've also had a victory from, of course, the team last time out at Manor. And we've had a victory as well from AGS. But not yet a 6th team to take a victory in 8 races. It is possible now. Certainly looking at the top 2, neither team has won a race so far this season as the BMS Italias continue to duel between each other. James Courtney trying to stay ahead of Gabriele Tarquini. Oh, and there's a car on fire up the road. Who is it? It's Bruno Senna. Bruno Senna in the Onyx. And I hate to think that that could be his last race performance in the championship, because obviously Ryan Ferris was stating that these two are driving for their careers in the team, but Bruno Senna, it appears, has pushed it as far as he can go. And Marcus Ericsson driving for his job as well at Midland. Well, numbers tells us that he is going to be keeping his job, because obviously the Midland team have now made both their driver changes for the season, unless he is excluded from a race and is given a race ban. Depends on how big the penalty is, I suppose, but it's going to be an interesting situation, that is for sure. Timo Glock battling away as he continues to lead. The Super Aguri is a mere 19 laps away from taking the team's first win of the season. Can he hold it together on the streets of Birmingham? Brendan Hartley. Oh, careful, Brendan. That was a rub of the wall. And he's got to be careful. He cannot afford to push the Manor too hard. He needs to keep it on the straight and narrow. So he comes through in a fairly decent rate of knots. He's just got to keep it going. So the car continues on its way. And down the back straight he will go. Timo Glock, 6.6 ahead of Nico Hulkenberg, who has now got past Paul Di Resta. So Hulkenberg has made the move on Di Resta. What's happened to the Lola? Well, he's just not got the pace. So Di Resta struggling. I thought he might have a mechanical problem of some kind, but no, Di Resta is just not as quick as Hulkenberg. Now, in the last few races, Hulkenberg has earned himself a rather frustrating reputation as being the Maldonado of the Minecraft of motorsport. It's a rather unfair judgment, but certainly here at Birmingham, things seem to be going his way. 6.7 seconds adrift of the lead. And neither Glock or Hulkenberg have been a Grand Prix winner. In fact, none of the drivers currently in the top 4 have won a Grand Prix in either Formula 1 or this series. So Timo Glock comes through the hairpin. Is he finally going to get the job done? So it's going to be an interesting run as Nico Hulkenberg has gone into second place past Di Resta. Alguersuari is 4th ahead of Kobayashi. Then it's Sebastian Bourdais running in front of Alex Rossi. Here comes, is that Wehrlein trying to get the move on James Courtney? No chance. James Courtney keeps that one well held and backs Wehrlein into the path of Tarquini. Jean-Eric Verne is running in 8th place. Wehrlein is not exactly having a great race. So he's got to be very careful about what he does over the course of the rest of the season. But Bourdais, 6th. Rossi, 7th. Verne is 8th. Hartley is 9th. And Heidfeld is 10th. So we've got one Super Aguri at the top of the points and the other one is at the bottom of the points. Looks like 26 points are coming the way of Super Aguri, the way things currently are. Is that smoke on the horizon? We've got somebody out of the race. Who have we got in trouble? Someone's pulled off. It's Tarquini. Tarquini out of the race. Oh, disappointment for Gabriele Tarquini. He's out of the race then. And that is devastating. So, Gabriele Tarquini pulls off and is out of the race. There we go. You just saw the car being craned off. And it was down at the hairpin. So, Timo Glock is approaching the scene. I thought for a horrible moment it was one of the leaders. But Glock, Hulkenberg, Di Resta, Alguersuari, Kobayashi is the top 5 on lap 35 out of 51. Then it's Bourdais, Rossi, Verne, Hartley and Heidfeld. And then we've got Deniz, Ericsson, Courtney, Wehrlein and Wolf with Davidson and Lotterer. And then we have just 17 drivers continuing through. So, Tarquini, Senna, Inouye, and that's a lovely move on the inside from Hartley. So Hartley gets through past Verne. But this is turning into quite a brilliant and thrilling race from Timo Glock. He continues, but he just nudged the barrier there. Did you see that? So Timo Glock nudging the barrier on the way out of the final corner. He's got to be careful now. Can Timo Glock finally get a race win? He's going to come through nice and neatly through the chicane. He's on lap 36 of 51, so still a bit of way to go. Let's have a look and see. He's going all the way to the end. Nico Hulkenberg in second place should be doing likewise. Di Resta's got a splash and dash coming. Alguersuari is catching in big style. I think there's an issue with the Lola developing. Kobayashi's running a solid race. And he is 19 laps left on the fuel. And there are 16 laps left of the race. So he's going to run almost dry, but that's enough. All he needs to do is get to the finish. Don't forget, Bourdais still needs to make a pit stop. He's not going to get to the end, nor is Rossi. So that will benefit Hartley. Verne needs to make another stop as well, as does Heidfeld. So Deniz may be looking at a point here. But Deniz hasn't got enough fuel to get to the end of the race either. And what about Marcus Ericsson? He'll need to... No, I think he's going to push it, actually. Ericsson is going to be very, very close to getting to the end of the race, as is Pascal Wehrlein. James Courtney should go the distance. Susie Wolf is pushing it a little bit. Davidson needs another stop. Lotterer is pushing it. And Glock is okay. So we could get some dramatic moments in the last couple of laps as drivers trying to close up. We'll need to do a little bit of fuel preservation. They'll need to look after the car. And I have seen races where drivers have tried to second guess the strategy and not quite filled up with enough fuel to get to the end of the race. And here at Birmingham, they have been scratching their heads over strategy, and some of them may not have got it right. Davidson and Lotterer having the loneliest battle in the race for 16th place. But if they just keep going, that could turn into a battle for the final couple of points. So Timo Glock still running. Here's Andre Lotterer. Up the inside of Davidson. He needs to commit. This is the man who nearly led the championship. He certainly took a victory on the streets of Marrakesh. But ever since then, the AGS dream has sadly faded. In the celebrity race earlier on, their drivers led 1 and 2. Michel Vaillant led comfortably until his retirement. Jean Girard was in second place when he had his. Here we go. Now Lotterer is going to make the move up the inside of Davidson and gets through. So, a fascinating situation. We've now got Lotterer and Davidson, 16th and 17th, in cars that at the early point of the season were winning races. That shows you just how tough the balance of performance has been on some of the teams. For others, it's been a bit of an eye-opener, but it certainly evens up the playing field. As Timo Glock leads at Birmingham, with several drivers about to make a splash and dash pit stop to try and get to the end. The deck is going to shuffle one more time. But Glock is your leader. Hulkenberg in second place. So Timo Glock continues to lead the Birmingham Superprix, the first one in 30 years. Here comes Alguersuari making his bid on Di Resta. And he could really do with getting there. He hasn't been able to. He's had to back off the throttle, and that's going to back him into the path of Kobayashi. But I'm fairly sure that Alguersuari can go further into the race, as can Kobayashi. So Di Resta is going to be a problem for very short periods of time rather than a long period of time. So Timo Glock still running comfortably. Nico Hulkenberg in second. Di Resta is third from Alguersuari and Kobayashi. Then it is Bourdais, Rossi, Hartley, Verne, Heidfeld, Diniz, Eriksson and Wehrlein. And then it is Courtney in front of Wolf, Lotterer and Davidson. Retirements from Gabriele Tarquini, Bruno Senna, Taki Inui, Marc Genet, Scott Dixon, Stoffel van Dorn, Lucas de Grassi, Pedro de la Rosa and Jean-Denis Delatraz. And many of them were race leaders. Many of them were battling for the win. So, Timo Glock leads the way. There is Marcus Ericsson, having made the switch from Simtech to Midland. And he certainly looks fairly settled in. He's behind his teammate Pedro Diniz at the moment, though. So, Marcus Ericsson struggling here at Birmingham. But it looks as though both cars might get a crack at the points. As Timo Glock comes through to complete lap 39. He's got 12 to go. It's getting ever closer, this victory in the Super Aguri. They've come so close so many times so far this year and not completed the job. But maybe today's the day. Paul Di Resta pits in. So Di Resta makes his pit stop. And that is, unfortunately, the situation he's found himself in. Well, he's going to go the distance. He's going to put a decent amount of fuel in and just go like stink. So Di Resta gets a 7.9 second pit stop. It's a quick pit stop, but it's going to be a very tough battle for the rest of the race feature. Oh, Topher Smith is getting it. Oh, James Courtney out of the race. I was going to say Topher Smith getting a little bit cocky there in the chat, saying I hear that Burn Baby Burn is being played in the Simtech garage, but it's not done and dusted for Super Aguri yet, mate. James Courtney is now out of the race as well. So that's 2 BMS Italias gone. Now, where is that on the circuit? That is at a fairly precarious position, I think. I think that's... Well, that is... now that is at turn 7, I think. And they're trying to get the car craned off. That's where Russell Spence had his shenanigans in 1988. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly sure it was 88 when he had his little misdemeanor. Down into the first corner goes Jaime Alguersuari, now in third. Kobayashi is fourth, and Bourdais is fifth. So the team comes through, and Kobayashi looking to extend his lead in the Drivers' Championship with this race. Rossi comes into the pits. Oh, Wehrlein's in trouble! Wehrlein did damage the car. Suspension failure, so Wehrlein has been off too many times. The car is now, unfortunately, out of the race. The suspension is gone, and that's another opportunity for points for BAR up in a disarray of confusion and chaos. So Wehrlein is out. We're on board with Jaime Alguersuari, third position, as we're on lap 41 of 51. We're nearly home now. And still, it is unclear who's going to get the victory. Glock is 6 seconds clear of Hulkenberg. The two Germans being very sensible and keeping themselves in the hunt. Jaime Alguersuari running a great race in third. And it looks as though it could well be 3 newbies on the podium. None of the 3 of them have so far made it to the podium yet this season. But it looks like all 3 of them could get there for the first time. Kobayashi in 4th. Bourdais is now in 5th place in the Onyx. 6th is Hartley. 7th is Verne. 8th is De Resta. 9th is Ericsson. And 10th is Diniz. So the 2 Midlands battling away for position. Oh, Verne is in the pits now, though. Verne is in the pits. So the sole remaining BAR is about to drop out of the points. But that is because, unfortunately for Verne, they haven't made the field strategy work and he's got to make a splash and dash. Plus, his other problems in the race haven't helped. So Brendan Hartley, the man who won last time out at the Grand Prix de Pau, with a cunning one-stop strategy. Unfortunately, though, he's not in a position to win today, but he is going to get a 6th place finish if he continues as he is. So he will continue to push for it. There's Hulkenberg, trying to shake off the image of clumsy Klutz. But Hulkenberg running well in 2nd place at the moment. And we now have 9 laps to go. Verne is back out, battling away for position. So this is a really exciting run. Oh, and that is Heidfeld trying to make up a place or 2. So we've got the Lola of Susie Wolf now out in front of Verne. Heidfeld there in 13th. This is that battle again. Verne's now got Nick Heidfeld bearing down on him. And it looks as though we've got a good battle shaping up now because into the pits comes Bourdais. So Bourdais is going to come in and lose time. An absolutely fascinating battle. But Hulkenberg remains in 2nd position. So Glock is your leader. Hulkenberg is 2nd. But Hulkenberg has got the gap down to Timo Glock. Hulkenberg is now only 5 seconds behind Timo Glock. Alguersuari is 12.8. And there goes the BAR past Wolf. So Verne has got back into position. There's Kobayashi in 4th position, about to extend his lead in the championship. It won't be a 1-point lead in the championship anymore. The way things currently stand with Verne out of the points, it is going to be a 13-point lead in the Drivers' Championship if it stays like this. But Kobayashi just needs to keep scoring points even if he can't win races. But Timo Glock is running well in the lead. Dare we say it? 44 laps are into this race. So we're on lap 44 now of 51. 8 to go, including this one. And Timo Glock continues on his way under the bridge. Storming up through the left-hand kink he will go. But Hulkenberg is catching him. 4.7 is now the gap. So Glock is under some pressure from Hulkenberg. Hulkenberg is trying to catch him. He's trying to get the win away. And from Hulkenberg's point of view, he's got very little to lose. This is an absolutely fascinating battle. Susie Wolf is now out of the pits from her pit stop in 14th place. So they continue on in position. And Jean-Eric Verne is now trying to shake off the attentions of Nick Heidfeld and Andre Lotterer. But so far, so good for the 2 Germans who lead the way and Jaime Alguersuari in 3rd. A lot of fingers being crossed at Prost. They have yet to get a podium. But in the last 2 races, they have had pole positions for Pedro de la Rosa. A 3rd place would definitely help the Prost team out. So let's see how it goes. 4.5 seconds is now the gap to the lead. As Timo Glock continues to hold on in front of Nico Hulkenberg. Brendan Hartley getting under some pressure there from Paul Di Resta. Di Resta's just pushing like crazy. He's got plenty of fuel in the car. He doesn't need to worry about things and he's just going for it as Diniz is in the pits from 10th. So that should give the final point back to Jean-Eric Verne. But let's see how this battle goes between Hartley and Di Resta. Di Resta's trying to get back on terms with Brendan Hartley, who holds the position. Hulkenberg is now 4.2 seconds back from Glock. He's taken another couple of tenths out as Di Resta gets up the inside and makes the move on Brendan Hartley for 5th position. Hartley has to back out of it. So Di Resta gets the place and he's up into P5. Now Alguersuari. What's Davidson up to? Davidson's trying to unlap himself from Alguersuari. Well, Alguersuari shuts the door. But that Minardi has got some horsepower in a straight line. Let's not forget that. So in the slipstream, Alguersuari's definitely going to have a little bit of pace. Diniz locking up in front of the race leader, Timo Glock. And I think Glock's had a moment. I think Glock's had an issue. I want to see if he's had something go wrong to him. What's happened to Timo Glock? I want to see the replay. Well, I think it's already happened, whatever it was that happened. But certainly Glock has had an issue somewhere, because he's lost a good 2 seconds to Nico Hülkenberg. Meanwhile, it looked to me as though Alguersuari, yes, look, the Minardi's got past Alguersuari and unlapped himself. Davidson's not going to make himself any friends at Prost. Well, he's obviously got a horsepower advantage with the Lamborghini engine, but that's not going to help Alguersuari when he's being lapped, because Alguersuari really wants to get past him and get away. And Davidson is actually causing a bit of an issue now for Alguersuari. But the gap between Glock and Hülkenberg is just 2.8 seconds. Glock made a mistake somewhere, and it's cost him a couple of seconds. So now Hülkenberg's got an even better chance now to go for the victory. 2.8 seconds is the gap, with 5 to go. Now that is achievable. And all Hülkenberg needs to do is get into the slipstream of Glock on one of these back straights. And the pace of the car with the Alfa Romeo engine should just carry him along to get alongside the Mugen engine. So Timo Glock holds it, but Nico Hülkenberg is catching him in second place. Alguersuari's in third. He just let the Minardi go in the end. And as Tom Butterworth points out, Davidson doing an Ocon. But Alguersuari's not letting it get the better of him. He's not panicking because he's still holding third place, and that matters more than having a Minardi in front getting away from him. Alguersuari really, really wants this third place. He's had a frustrating season up to now. He's only scored 1 point. Look at the gap between Glock and Hülkenberg. That's how small it is now. Glock is trying to hang on in front of Hülkenberg. Neither of them have been Grand Prix winners. In fact, neither of them have even been on a Grand Prix podium. Sorry, my apologies. Timo Glock has, but he's not had the crucial victory. So Glock is trying to get away from Nico Hülkenberg, and Glock is upping his game in the bid to get away from Nico Hülkenberg. But there is the arrows. Not far away from him at all now. And Hülkenberg is giving it some, trying to get close to him. Can Hülkenberg catch up to Timo Glock and, of course, grab a second place finish? Because if he does, that'll be the best result Nico Hülkenberg has ever had in a Grand Prix car. Out of the hairpin. Hülkenberg is doing his best, but Timo Glock, having made the mistake, is now pushing very hard. Well, Alex Goldschmidt has made a statement on the team chat that Minardi has been in talks with Davidson about the security of his tenure in the team over the past 2 weekends. Not for the first time they've been having those conversations either. And apparently it's going to be reviewed again before the next round at Helsinki. And of course, they'll need to find out where round 10 is. The team managers will be told that at the end of this race. But you guys will have to wait until the next round at Helsinki to find out. We're into lap 49. 3 laps to go. And I think Timo Glock has done enough. He's had the pressure of Nico Hülkenberg, but he hasn't slipped up since. Hülkenberg's still giving it everything, but the gap is 2.8, and it has solidly remained at that as Diniz makes the move on Susie Wolff. So Pedro Diniz is going to try and get past Susie Wolff to the inside line and gets through, no problem. So Pedro Diniz up into 13th place now. And there is Jaime Alguersuari. Into the pits, a late one for Di Resta. He's had another problem by the look of it. Yes, a throttle issue for Di Resta. So the Lola comes in with just 3 laps to go. Heartbreaking for Di Resta as he tumbles out of 6th position down to 9th, and I think he's going to tumble out of the points. In fact, Vern's going to go through into 9th place. And is Di Resta going to lose 10th? No, he's going to hang on to 10th in front of Nick Heidfeld. But it's devastating bad luck for Di Resta. A mechanical problem in the closing stages. Here comes Alex Rossi. He's going to get the move on Ericsson in the Midland. And that's for P6. So Rossi is going to get through. Well, a fascinating run for Timo Glock then. 2 to go. And he's actually pulling away from Hülkenberg a little bit now. I think Timo Glock's going to have the moment he's been waiting for. Nico Hülkenberg in second. But too far away to be a threat unless something happens to the Super Aguri. Oh, Kamui Kobayashi's in trouble. Well, that has blown the championship wide open. Kobayashi was going to extend his lead of the championship, but now an engine failure, just 2 laps from home, robs him of a big lead in the championship, and he's going to lose the lead of the Drivers' Championship, surely to Jean-Eric Vergne now. Kamui Kobayashi, devastating for Arrows at the end as they lose their man. And that's going to be Hartley through to 4th, Rossi through into 5th place, and Vergne is going to move up into 7th position out of all of that. Bourdais is 6th, Vergne is 7th. Wow, that's a big, big punishment for Arrows with Kobayashi out. So now they've just got to keep their man Hulkenberg going. Andre Lotterer is coming into the pits at the end. It looks like he's got a problem at the bitter end. No, he just wasn't able to get to the end of the race on the low fuel. And Susie Wolff likewise. So they had to make a quick splash and dash. Otherwise they weren't going to make it. Well, there you are. So now, after all of that drama and tension, and there's been quite a bit of that in this race, it's going to be this man, Timo Glock, who's going to get the job done. Nico Hulkenberg is trying to catch him, but he's not going to get there in time. Jean-Eric Vergne, this man, is going to get 6 points on the board, and he's going to get the lead of the Drivers' Championship, I'm fairly sure, as long as he can keep it going. But behind is an even more important victor. Timo Glock. Oh, Brendan Hartley nearly throwing away 4th place there. That would not have been good timing. Hulkenberg has done his best. He's tried hard. But this man is going to get the job done. And I'm sure there's going to be a little quip or two from people on the sidelines as he comes out of the final turn. So I will put them out of their misery and do it for them. Is that Glock? Yes, it is. At last, Timo Glock wins. Timo Glock wins for Super Aguri at Birmingham in the Superprix. Absolutely brilliant. Timo Glock wins the Birmingham Superprix. Hulkenberg is 2nd. And in 3rd position, at last, Jaime Alguersuari brings a podium for Prost. Absolutely heroic from Alguersuari. He finally gets a podium, so deserving of the team. Brendan Hartley's going to come through for a solid 4th place after his win at Po. And Alex Rossi, who would have predicted that in the top 5 pre-race? Alex Rossi still banging in points finishes for AGS. Actually doing stronger than Lotterer at the moment. Certainly here. Bourdais gets a credible 6th position finish for Onyx. 7th for Vergne puts him in the lead of the Drivers' Championship now. De Resta crosses the line in 8th. Heidfeld gets 2 points for Super Aguri in 9th. And Diniz beats his teammate Ericsson in the Midland squabble. How about that? So Diniz gets his first point in the Grand Prix World Series, and Marcus Ericsson struggling with a loose wheel as he comes across the line. So he must have hit the wall in the closing stages. But it's Timo Glock. As we confirm it now, Timo Glock wins in the Birmingham Superprix. Hulkenberg is 2nd, Alguersuari 3rd from Brendan Hartley, and then Alex Rossi and Sebastian Bourdais. Jean-Eric Vergne is 7th and should take the lead of the Drivers' Championship by my calculations. De Resta is 8th, Heidfeld is 9th, and Pedro Diniz is 10th. Then it's Marcus Ericsson, Anthony Davidson, Andre Lotterer and Susie Wolff. Kamui Kobayashi out of the race with 2 to go, but still classified 15th. And nobody else made it home. Pascal Wehrlein out with a suspension failure. James Courtney and Gabriele Tarquini with problems. And then it is Bruno Senna, Taki Inui, Mark Genet, Scott Dixon, Stoffel Van Dorn, Lucas de Grassi, Pedro Della Rosa cruelly from the lead. And then it is Jean-Denis Delatraz, who retired after an epic start at the front of a thrilling battle. What a race. What an absolutely terrific duel. So we should head down to the pit lane and speak to some of our managers. There aren't many of them left because they're all fairly exhausted. But we'll have a word with a few of our team managers. And we'll start, I think...
Ben Johnson, is it?
I think we should start in descending order. So let's talk to Ryan Ferris about his performance. Ryan, the team have done a fair job. So let's have a look at how the race has gone. Bruno Senna unable to make it to the finish, but Bourdais in 6th place. That's pretty good going.
Yeah, it was tough stuff for Bruno. He started slowing early into the race, and so we kind of could see some things on the telemetry that weren't quite right. So it was kind of semi-expected to see the engine go when it did. However, good for Bourdais. He's managed to score some points, so that's a little bit more money into the budget that we can go towards the car. So yeah, all in all, feeling okay at the moment.
Fantastic performance. Great job, Ryan, and great to see the Onyx team get the points they needed. Let's turn to Sam Hall. Sam Hall has had a reasonable race. Brendan Hartley coming home in 4th place in the end. I guess they do say, don't they, that to finish first you have to finish. 3 more finished ahead of you, but that's how you guys have been getting decent points in.
Yeah, I mean, Brendan, fresh from his win in Po. I mean, not exactly an easy track. Comes to Birmingham, just narrowly missed out on that podium. To be honest with you, we've got a very, very, very straightforward strategy plan. Always a one stop with Brendan so that we can sit back and knock back the Jaegers during the race and just let him do his thing. I mean, it's been a good race, what we can remember of it on the pit wall.
Fantastic stuff. Great performance, Sam. Let's have a word with Tom Cairns. Tom, there at last. It's been a long time coming, the podium for Prost, but it was very well deserved, and Jaime Alguersuari kept his cool and grabbed a brilliant podium. That more than makes up for Pedro de la Rosa's misdemeanour.
It most certainly does, Jake. And I still feel really sorry for Pedro, to be honest, because he really did not deserve to be going out early on. But full credit to Jaime for a great passing as well. I think he overtook quite a number of people, actually. He overtook a few. I think he got by Kobayashi whilst he was trying to get past. I think it was Di Resta. I can't remember if it was Di Resta. I think it might have been Ericsson, because Ericsson was staying out he was staying out longer than others. But he put off some great overtakes. He didn't push the car too hard. He didn't really need to be honest, because it was quite a margin to the top 2 of Glock and Hulkenberg. But now they've got the points on the board, and Jaime's increased his points tally drastically as well. So he's pretty much on terms with De La Rosa at the moment. And he's bagged some good points for the team, actually. I think we're still in the bottom 6 in the constructors. So we've got another 4 million quid of budget coming our way, which will help us improve the cars for the coming races, in particular in Helsinki, because I don't know too much about the Helsinki track, but for the sake of making sure that we're at the front, it's important to make sure we still put a good amount of brake horsepower and, more importantly, reliability on the car.
Well, we'll see if Prost is still in that lowly position after round 10 when the next balance of performance. You might get some more decent performances on the board. You may get too many points for another BOP. You never know. But congratulations. A very deserved podium for the Prost team. Well done. And finally, we should turn to Topher Smith. Topher, this win has been a long time coming, but Timo Glock kept his head. A few little blips, a few little moments, but he really has got the job done today.
That was an absolutely fantastic drive from Timo. I could not be happier for the team to finally get our first victory. I mean, like you said, it's been a long time coming. We've shown the speed all the way through the season so far, but have just been plagued by reliability issues. We finally overcame them for this race. We got both cars to the finish. Nick did a decent job to finish in 9th place, but Timo drove a perfect race. He executed the strategy perfectly and came home with a well-deserved victory. I couldn't be happier, Jake.
So obviously now we go to Helsinki for the next round. Do we think that Timo will still have the pace when we go to Finland?
Jake, you know as well as I do that it's impossible to predict anything in this series. Your guess is as good as mine.
Okay, well, it's great to catch up with you, and an absolutely fascinating battle. Great to see him do such a good job out there. Well done. Congratulations. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. An absolutely fantastic, brilliant battle, and hopefully it's going to be more of the same from our competitors as they continue to give us plenty of entertainment and action. Helsinki, Finland is up next. Let's see if we're going to have another cracking race. 6 different teams have won races now from the first 8 races. If you're interested in getting in the game, don't forget that you can compete as a team manager in our Group C Challenge, which kicks off next week. The live draw for the remaining team manager slots is on April the 11th. There is still space to do it. I think we have 10 spaces left for managers if you want to get on the grid and be part of the Group C Sports Car Challenge our next season. Some of the greatest sports cars of all time. There are the rules. If you want to have a little bit more detail, then you can send us an email, downforceuk@hotmail.co.uk, or send us a message to either Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and we will tell you all you need to know. Are you going to be a winning manager? All you need to do is play and find out. I'm Jake Sanson. See you for the next race at Helsinki on Wednesday. Enjoy yourselves and stay safe.